What am I doing? Hey guys, what's up? It's Kumerai Fang here, and it's finally time for my Q&A special. For those of you guys who don't know, I reached 2,000 subscribers on August 2nd, which still amazes me. Like, I still can't believe the channel's this huge, that it's still growing, like, wow. Now, earlier this year, I promised if we hit 2,000 subscribers, I would make a Q&A video, and, needless to say, there were a lot of questions. And as a result, I had to cut most of them. I'm really sorry, guys, but the video would just be too long if I included everybody. The fact I had so many questions to go through was alarming. I wasn't expecting near as many. On that note, though, let's get started. Destruction Central asks, what anime are your favorites? Due to focusing more on school, work, and YouTube over the last few years, I haven't really sat down to watch an anime until just recently, actually. I have a lot of catching up to do. Out of what I've seen so far, though, I'm more than a bit of a Tokyo Ghoul fan, as well as a fan of Bleach, actually. Tokyo Ghoul has always been an engrossing anime, and where Bleach is not the best, especially with its filler content, I've always been drawn to the characters. What can I say? Next up is Dr. Hack's PhD. I noticed you had an old video on how to play The World Without Logos by Yasushi Ishii on piano. Are you a big fan of his music, or just that song in particular? Oh god, that was made at the core beginning of the channel. It was my second semester, and I was taking a video production class, and one of the projects that we made and we submitted through YouTube was making a how-to video. In my case, I taught people how to play the piano of that song. Now, to answer your question, Dr. Hags, my experience with Yasushi Ishii is limited to the Hellsing soundtracks, which, personally, I think they suit the show quite well. I loved listening to them. Lightning Fedora 3 asks, can I be featured in the Q&A video? Yeah, sure, why not? Brandon Diaz, sorry. He asks, would you consider doing your own year-end Hot 100 ranking like Ethan used to do? I have every intention of picking up the year-end rank segments, but like Ethan did for the 2016 videos, I'm going to make them two-parters. Ashes1919 and Varth_ both want to know, what's a good song from an artist you can't stand? Well, if you watched my rank series or my song reviews, then you already know that I like Attention by Charlie Puth and There's Nothing Holding Me Back by Shawn Mendes. But if you really want to dig for a gem in a pile of shit, I'd recommend 3 AM by Meghan Trainor. The lyrics are good, the production's good, Megan's pretentious attitude is almost completely gone, it's surprisingly solid. Next from Kois to Pivik, if you plan to cover media on another channel, what kind of media will you focus on specifically? In case you missed my Kumerai's Future vlog, I plan on starting a new channel sometime next year. I'll be reviewing animated shows, games, and I'll even be doing a few Let's Plays. I plan on releasing a video to this channel sometime in April, hopefully, just to give you guys a taste of what that new channel will be like. Moving on to Kyan, I hope I pronounced your name right, Clarence. What's your opinion of Into You from 2016? Into You by Ariana Grande was one of the biggest hits from last year, and yet I was among the few critics who never talked about it, not even on any of their year-end lists. Now, the reason I never mentioned it at all is because Into You was just one of those songs that I rarely heard in 2016. It didn't have a chance for my best list. But after a lot of people put it on their best lists, I did go to listen to it a few more times, and I'm not huge for it, not gonna lie. It's still good, but to me it's a little bit overrated and I'm just lukewarm on it. Now, Greedy, there's a song that deserved better. Matthew Ernest asks, what's your name? Unfortunately, I must reveal a sad fact about myself. Kumerai Fang is indeed not my real name. Actually, hang on a second, I already said my name before. Time to take your lumps, Gina. Hope that answers your question, Matthew. The GP Studio wants to know, what do you think of YouTube music? Jake Paul, for example? Is that what we're calling the shit that hits the charts just because they're big on YouTube? If that's the case, then I think YouTube music is a bit too general of a term. There are many really good musicians who grow their audience by using the site, so I feel like just labeling it like that is kind of unfair to them. Something like meme music is more suiting of someone like Jake Paul. And on the subject, Jake Paul is a meme that can become irrelevant any time now. He was never funny to begin with, and he's getting unbearable with each passing day. Okay, from the Pointless channel, aw, come on, don't say that. What made you get into music? My parents grew up on the golden age of rock and roll, so despite listening to a decent amount of pop music as a kid, my family's musical palette was always very diverse. One minute we could be listening to something like Feel Good Inc., and the next we could be listening to The Great Gig in the Sky. And aside from food, music was always our way of socializing and spending time with each other. So it was less getting into music and more growing up on it. Okay, next from Bad Support. Would you ever do a collaboration with Spectrum Pulse? Fuck yeah, I would. He's one of the most dedicated music critics we have right now. Who wouldn't want to collaborate with him? At this point though, I doubt Mark even knows that I exist, so I'm gonna focus on building up my channel more before I ask him to collaborate with me. Next is from Killer Panda. Would you ever consider doing ranked videos for artist discographies or other Billboard charts? Yes to the Billboard charts, although not anytime soon. An artist discography, on the other hand, is not something that you make a ranked video for. I'd be more inclined to make top 10 lists out of them. If I ended up doing this one time and it somehow became a thing, I think it'd be more a once-in-a-blue moon kind of event. Like, I don't think I do this all too often. Now, in artist singles, those might be a bit more manageable for a ranked video, but who knows, really. Lola Popente, sorry. Lola asks, what are your top 5 favorite YouTube channels? Hopefully my friends don't hate me for this, but here they are, my top 5 favorite YouTube channels. Number 5.
No, you got blue. You have to go faster.
I'm going as fast as I can, Bubbly.
Gotta go fast.
Number 4.
We're gonna play again.
Number 3.
Top of the morning to you, ladies. My name is Jacksepticeye, and welcome to a game called Unravel.
Number 2.
Whoa! Why is this so hard?
And my number 1 favorite YouTube channel is... Oh, and by the way, to Cheesy Cheese and Rose Moulet, this is my favorite band of all time, and my favorite song of all time would have to be this.
I never said that this would be easy.
The original or the rebirth version, doesn't matter. Alright, these next ones are from Sans the Llama Buzzard and In the Furnace. Hey Matt! How did you feel about Chester Bennington's death? Have your thoughts about Linkin Park been impacted at all? I was afraid of getting questions like these. To start, Linkin Park's music has always been about dealing with emotions, mainly depression, so the fact that Chester Bennington was depressed wasn't really a shock to me. It doesn't affect how I view him or the group because it's depression, and when it's extreme, there's very little room for logic and rational thought to make its way through. That being said, when all of this happened, I was hoping it wasn't true. Like, Chester's death affected me more than any of the reported deaths in over a year, actually. I cried when I found out. To be real, I was going to do this back to way back retrospective on Heavy because to me it represents where Chester's head was in the months leading up to his death. I think that song just best captures it. But school comes before videos, so I think when you're younger you can't imagine a world without some of your favorite celebrities, so when they die, it hits you harder than the death of most other people. I was never the biggest Linkin Park fan, but they were part of my childhood, and I know more than a few of their songs, so this hit pretty close to home. Also, Matt, no, you are not kidding, and yes, I like Numb Again. I was a dumb. Okay, moving on. From TGC, how old are you? I turned 22 on the 11th of September. Elijah Benedict and Enveropolis want to know, what are your thoughts on Panic at the Disco and Fall Out Boy? Who do you prefer? I've always liked both groups, but they've definitely hit their hurdles with me. It usually depends on the era. That would depend on which one I like more, to be real with you. Having heard Young and Menace, I kind of have to side with Panic at the Disco at this point. Like, their pop rock sound is just better than Fall Out Boy's is now. There's no polite way of saying that. Okay, from Delphox. Rank the members of One Direction best to worst based on their solo careers. That's easy. Harry, tied between Niall and Louis, then Liam, then Zayn. Okay, next is from the Radical Douche. Hi, Rodrigo! Did you ever feel like you had a certain calling to review music, or did you just try to as an experiment that eventually paid off? As said earlier, I was sort of raised on music. Hell, my dad would play a lot of classic rock for us in the house, and he would quiz us on not just what the song was and who it's by, but also who wrote it, what it was about, and so on and so forth. It was a very lengthy music history lesson, and I hated it. I was not interested in him telling me about these old-ass songs. I just wanted to listen to the music. Which is ironic because back in 2013, my channel started by reviewing old songs that, at the time, I enjoyed listening to a lot. So there was always a calling to review music, no matter how much I still hate those history lessons. Mr. The Rated G and Thomas Memory Central ask, can I request you to review songs if I ask in advance? Would you review music made by YouTubers? First, the second question. I really want to incorporate that into my channel. I would love to talk about other musicians, and God knows YouTube has a bunch of them. Now, requesting songs, you're free to recommend them, but it's not very likely to happen. Unless you pledge $2 on Patreon, then any new song from this year is up for review. Older songs will be a possibility once Back to Way Back is more developed, but as it stands now, no. Justin Hawes wants to know, any extended thoughts on the Double H's departure from YouTube? In case you guys didn't know, Ethan did quit. He had this entire long Twitter thread about why he quit. I didn't have anything else to say about it other than what I said in my top 20 ranked video for summer. Then I saw this comment hit my spam feed, which is where it's gonna stay. And here's what I gotta say to that. Part of the reason Ethan left was because of certain people in the comments section. He's not gonna post a video about his departure because then he's facing those same people. Just leave him alone. From Alan Lapis and the Iconic Critic. Any TV shows you'd recommend? Favorite animated show from the US? I don't watch a lot of television anymore, but one series I used to watch a lot with my dad is called Mural Wolf. It only had 2 seasons, but my dad and I would watch reruns of it. Maury Chaykin and Timothy Hutton make great whodunit detectives. Favorite animated show from the US, however, there have been a lot of good ones, but one I particularly love, one from my childhood actually, is called Shaolin Showdown. Each villain that came to the show was meant to challenge one of the 4 main characters in each season. It's definitely a kid's show, but you'll definitely get a good time out of it. IBITV asks, he asked me twice actually, would you like to voice a character in a cartoon if you ever get invited to do so? What types of characters would you like to voice the most personality-wise? Would they have to be a lot in common with you for them to be voiced by you? I would love to be able to voice act professionally, especially for animated shows. Some of the stories I've come up with actually have been for animes, and I can think of at least one character from each that I would want to voice. Their personalities, for the most part, aren't very similar to mine though, so I can't say whether or not I have limitations because I have no experience in the field, but yeah, you never know. M. Kurosawa wants to know, do you listen to Japanese music? Hang on, let me check my phone here. Yes, I do. Next from Mike SRPN. What are your favorite and least favorite genres of music? I think I've made it clear that I'm into the visual kei scene. Like a lot. Least favorite genre though? You know, this is gonna sound hypocritical coming from someone who reviews pop music, but I'm really not that into trap music. I really don't like it. From what I've heard from it, it doesn't provide a lot of variety, and a lot of what I've heard has been pretty sludgy to me. The absolute laziest trap song I heard, I can't even remember what song it was, but I described it as the worst of EDM music, but with anorexia. There was just no other way for me to describe it. I had no other words for it. From Scalarena, how did you discover visual K music? It's pretty uncommon that someone knows about this scene outside of Japan. True. In general, I discovered Japanese music by watching a lot of anime, so when YouTube came out in 2005, it became easy to find beginning and ending themes to the shows I used to watch, and by default also find other songs by other musicians I never heard about. Some of them were visual K bands, others were not, and even then though, I really didn't get into the scene until 2013. That's when I really began searching through YouTube to try and find these different acts. Next up is Louis Rivera. Do you listen to J-pop or K-pop? If so, who do you enjoy in particular? The closest thing to J-pop I've listened to is baby metal, and they're a fusion of metal and J-pop, so yeah. K-pop, on the other hand, is something my little sister would know more about than I would, really. From what I've heard, though, I wouldn't mind any of their musicians crossing over to the US. I have more fun listening to K-pop than I do listening to most things that hit the charts now. MKman619 wants to know, what are some of your favorite movies and books? My favorite film of all time is Hayao Miyazaki's Spirited Away. It was like that since I was a kid, and as an adult, I still enjoy every second of it. If we were to talk live action films, well, I don't really watch many of them anymore, but one in particular that I enjoyed was Deadpool. What can I say, really? Ryan Reynolds knows what he's doing. Now, there are a few books I've enjoyed, like To Kill a Mockingbird, murder mystery novels by Rex Stout and Sarah Graves, also. One book I've read that has yet to be topped, though, is called The Night Circus. It's by Aaron Morgenstern, and the book itself was just incredible. Like, each chapter is told in a different perspective, and it was actually really intense as it kept going. Like, I highly recommend it. Local reviews. Hey, man! Local reviews, Forging Iron 123 and Rodhy's Supermanian have questions about my book writing, actually. How does it feel being an author? What kind of books do you write? How do you deal with writer's block? Thank you all for asking. I'm an aspiring novelist. I haven't published anything yet. But for me, writing has always been very liberating. Like, I have ADHD, and ever since I was a kid, I would come up with these different settings and characters and just different ideas, and I wanted to tell the stories behind them. It can be a bit stressful if you get stuck though, so fair warning, Loco. Right now I'm focusing on steampunk and fantasy, but I also want to branch outwards into suspense and detective novels. And writer's block, the first thing I do is grab a piece of paper and write down notes. Specifically, what I'm stuck on and where I need to get to in my story. I found that I'm never able to move forward unless I understand these two things. After that, I walk away from my story. I go on a walk, I read a book, I take a nap, I go play video games with my little brother. The best way I've dealt with writer's block is to get out of my head and just let the solution come naturally. Okay, last one, guys, from Alicia Pearl. Do you have any weird/uncommon talents or interests? Any hobby or activity you wish you were better at? Well, I know one weird thing I could mention. A road game my family and I play is spotting yellow cars that aren't company owned. You won this game by either having the most amount of points by the end of the drive or by spotting a yellow Hummer. And according to my sisters, I've napped on car rides before and woke up just in time to call a yellow car. And a hobby I wish I was better at? Yeah, pretty much. Well, that's it then. Thank you guys for watching, thank you so much for subscribing, and thank you everyone who submitted your questions. I know I didn't get to all of them, but doing this was just a lot of fun, and I actually can't wait to do it again. This was just amazing, but until then, I'm Kumerai Fang, and
I'm back! But not yet. Soon.
well, apparently I'm off to work on the channel soon.